You're losing revenue, but the culprit isn't what you think. It's not your product, pricing, or even your sales team. It's something far more subtle. And if you don't fix it, all your growth strategies might be for nothing. Today, we're talking about why understanding and correctly using life cycle stages and lead statuses isn't just important, it's critical to your company's growth. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to stop leaving money on the table. Hey everyone, I'm Dan Saavedra and my wife hates my mustache, and we are on day 32 of 90 of the YouTube Sprint on Signal Analytics. And today we're going to be going over the overlooked mistake costing you millions, if you're big enough, and it's why your revenue isn't growing. So if you're a little smaller, it might not be as big of an impact, right? But if you are doing 5, 10, 15 million a year, you could be leaving so much on the table with this issue that we see all the time. And so I wanted to show this screenshot before we dive into the topic because this is a real client screenshot that was impacted by this exact problem. When we deployed the solution day one in March of 2024, they started to double their historical customers inside of the CRM. The revenue grew with it. You can see here this count of contacts, which is actually customers for this client of ours. And so they doubled in April, May, June, and July the number of customers that were coming into the CRM there. And so this is a real life example of why this problem is so big. So let's get into it. The problem is a lot of companies are doing this. They have a leaky bucket, right? There's just holes where all of this opportunity, all of this money is just flowing out because they're unable to accurately see what's going on in the pipeline. The data that they're operating off of is incorrectly set up. And it all relates back to incorrectly used life cycle stages and lead statuses. So we're going to get into why this is a problem and how people are actually doing it and the issues that it causes. So we're going to jump over to a whiteboard. I'm just going to draw out what's supposed to be happening and then talk about what people are actually doing. And so when it comes to life cycle stages, so if we just write a little LS there for life cycle stages, what it's supposed to represent here is the linear path of a customer journey. It can be a contact, it can be a company, but this is supposed to be the furthest point along the customer journey that you got to, or that the person got to, or that the company got to. But in reality, this is not how customer journeys work at all. What really is the customer journey, as you might know, is someone is going this way, and then they touch content that's back here, right? So they go back, give you a signal that's previous in the life cycle stages, and then maybe they come back around and skip to this portion, and then they're all over the place, right? They're going here and there, and it's not a linear journey by any means. And so people try to measure this with the life cycle stage. So we're talking about something like subscribers. These are the values. So subscriber to MQL to SQL to opportunity. And what they end up doing is they move people to a life cycle stage. And then if they're no longer engaged with sales or the opportunity ends up being closed, lost, they move people back to a subscriber status or to a subscriber stage with life cycle stages. And that causes a lot of problems in the CRM when doing signal analytics. It doesn't allow you to capture information the way that you should be capturing. So there's standard properties in HubSpot, for example, where you can see how long someone has spent in a life cycle stage. You can also do a bunch of things with that data in terms of stamping the number of touch points, attribution, different demographic information. You can do tons of stuff with this information. But if you're resetting the life cycle stage to the beginning, you're clearing the values of further life cycle stages, and then you're overwriting them in the incorrect way when they move back through the life cycle stages. And so then we have another property that's standard by HubSpot, also initialed with LS, but it's LST. Nope. This would just be L status then because they're all LST. But this would be lead status, right? And so lead status is supposed to represent a more fluid movement of the actual contact or company, where life cycle stage, once again, is supposed to be the furthest along the customer journey that someone has gotten. And so lead status is what you're supposed to use to indicate what is actually happening, the current state of the lead. And HubSpot even introduced an entire new object called leads to handle this exactly. And so you can use lead status, or you can use the lead object if you're complex enough of a sales process. And this lead status is something that can be cyclical, right? You can clear this however you want. It can be indicative of where they're at right now. So life cycle stage, let's say someone gets all the way to opportunity. They have an open deal, but the deal closed and it's lost and they haven't responded. They ghosted, right? You can change this lead status to ghosted. And then you can automate and analyze based off of that, and leaving the life cycle stage as is. You'll then be able to see when a new opportunity opens up and the lead status turns into something like active and a new opportunity is created. You can see already that they've gone all the way to the to the opportunity lifecycle stage. And this is incredibly useful for salespeople to know to go look back at old notes, to bring up past pain points if they're relevant, to bring up past research if it's relevant, and you're not starting all over again in the process. And it's the same with people who actually reset the customer lifecycle stage value. That's like one of the worst offenses that you can do, because now you've lost all this information about whether or not someone was a customer. If you're stamping it elsewhere, yes, it handles some of the downsides to it, but you still have tons of gaps that you're creating by resetting this. And as we talked about in previous videos, you need to be focusing on people who are customers with new opportunities in there, right? And so you can have a lead status for them. If they're just an active customer with no open opportunity, you can have a lead status for that. Or you can have a lead record even. But then if they open up a new opportunity, you want that lead status to show as active, but for your sales team to know that they're past customers. It's critical. It's incredibly critical. And so that's the general gist of the main gap that we're seeing, is people are not using these life cycle stages with lead statuses at all, or they're resetting life cycle stages and using them as a cyclical value when in reality they should be linear. And it causes tons of problems down the line. And so when you're capturing signals correctly, or in order to capture signals correctly, it depends on a correct data setup. It's useless without correct life cycle stage use, because if you're using that life cycle stage and resetting it incorrectly, it's going to mess up all the data around signals. It's going to cause tons of headaches for you. And it can only be retroactively fixed, but it has to be by a data team like ours, because this is stuff that we do all the time. If you've had this problem, you're like, oh crap, I've been doing this. I need to change my methods. Our data team is able to go and reconcile that data. It's a lot of complex logic to get it correct, but it's possible. And so you need all that stuff in order to capture signals correctly. And what it leads to, this is obviously, the beautiful thing. This is what you're looking for. It's the client screenshot that I showed from before. When you have your life cycle stages set up correctly, you see tremendous growth in new opportunities, because you're able to identify exactly where people have been in the customer journey and the signals associated with the life cycle stage that they're at. And so for this client, we don't do any of the marketing, right? We just provide the data to execute your marketing better. And so that's exactly what we did here. We established these life cycle stages correctly. We fixed data from the past. We ended up automating the signals for certain life cycle stages, and then they plugged in their entire marketing strategy and sequence using these life cycle stages and the workflows that we set up, and they were able to grow by this much. These are overall customers, remember. And so looking at July of 2024, they have 15,000 new customers. It's a low ticket item. And then in July of 2023, they only had 10,000 new customers. And so you see the growth here. They were declining before they launched Signal Analytics. They're somewhat cyclical, but they were not showing consistent growth. And now you can see that they're growing, right? And so this is why your revenue isn't growing. If your life cycle stages are incorrect, you're going to stagnate. And I've seen this with multiple clients. Some are even declining or quarter after quarter with new revenue because they just don't have their life cycle stages correct. So it's absolutely critical. And then if I scroll down here, to bring it all home, a pipeline. This is where you'll end up if you use lifecycle stages correctly with the lead statuses. One, you'll have a pipeline where every lead is nurtured to its fullest. You're not just leaking stuff out the bucket. You're not missing opportunities that you should have closed, but a competitor closed instead. Or the customer or the prospect still just didn't find a solution for it and is suffering. Two, a sales team that knows who to target and when. They know the life cycle stage that they've been to. They can see the customer journey accurately. They know the current status that they're in. And so they know who to reach out to, the exact timing, the exact messaging, the problem sets that they're facing. Three, marketing that hits the target. So your marketing will be on point. You're no longer going to be sending off cold style messaging to people who have been all the way to the opportunity stage with your business. They have a deeper relationship with you because they've had conversations. If they're an existing customer, if they're an opportunity, even if they're an SQL, they have a different understanding of your brand and what you offer. And so your marketing will hit that better. And you'll be able to combine this information of life cycle stages and lead statuses with other signal data in order to make marketing super, super relevant. Four, you'll have consistent and scalable revenue growth. You see it here. The proof is in the pudding, as they say. And when you use signals correctly, when you use life cycle stages correctly, you will have your revenue growth. That's what we specialize in. That's how we get it. And so that's it for this video. Take one action, and that action is go talk to your team about how you use life cycle stages. I know usually I ask for like a like or a comment or share or something like that. But this one, I want you to go back and talk to your team and see how you're using life cycle stages, how you're using lead statuses or lead objects, and make sure that you're doing it correctly. Linear life cycle stages, as far as they've gotten in the customer journey, you never, ever, ever reset it, except if it's a very, very specific situation where it was incorrectly progressed. Otherwise, you leave it alone. So keep that in mind when you're talking to your team. Next video is going to be a surprise. Subscribe on YouTube or via the link in the description. Whoops. If you want the signal constructor tool, we've had great feedback on that. It allows you to build out the exact signals and the actions that your team is going to take based off of our pre-built list. And it provides a roadmap for your team to use signals. Highly suggest it. Subscribe via the link in the description. I'm Saavedra from Merger Data, and I'll talk to you next time.